Happy April Fools! What's this? A bonus episode outside of our normal release schedule? And it doesn't have a bunch of people playing together. It's a collection of solo plays! If you've never played a solo tabletop role-playing game, give this episode a listen. See what you think. Solo plays are individual, one-person stories where it's you and the rules, and you're off on an adventure. Let's see how our fire-breathing kittens fared in their solo play April Fools 2025 adventures. Note, one of these adventures occurred after the episode The Crab with the Golden Claw, and the other adventure occurred before the start of the season.
Hello, and welcome to an atypical episode of Fire Breathing Kittens podcast. It's atypical because it's going to be a solo session featuring Newson. If you listen to the Crab with the Golden Claws episode, you'll know that towards the end of that, Newson became non-functional and sank in the habitat that was being used by the Desiree family as a resort. So this episode is going to feature Newson's recovery from the bottom of the sea. To do that, I'm going to be playing a game called Inksea, the Abyss, described as a guided journey within the inky black by N. Robinia of thebardicinquiry.com. This is a 2-page game intended for solo play. It's described as the Inksea is a dangerous ocean world of viscous black. Above the waves, the people of this world live atop the land amassed upon the Leviathans, or their artificial islands. Beneath the waves, where you desperately search, the people flee from smaller Leviathans to search for ancient treasures. The spider, an all-knowing ancient, has infected you with the ever-consuming sentient bacterium. Find the relics, get the cure. So I'm going to be playing a variation of this game. I won't be infected, I'll just be trying to find my way out. And instead of the relics, I'm going to be looking for Midas, the crab with the golden claw that Muse and Newson met and befriended. Newson's hope is that Midas will be able to take them to safety. So, to prepare for the game, you need a normal 54-card playing deck, which is the story deck, 2 6-sided dice, the action dice, and a notebook for records, the journey book. You also need slips of paper and a pen, a token, and a couple of hours. So, to start the game, place the Ace of Spades face up at the top of your play area. This is where you start, on the surface of your ship, or in our case, on the wreckage of the resort platform. I've done that. Place your token here. Shuffle and place your story deck face down to the side of your play area and gather the remaining materials. So I've shuffled my deck, put it to the side. I've got my dice and I've got my means of making notes. So the next step is to create your diver. Create a name and choose your preferred pronouns. Well, that's Newson, and their preferred pronouns are they, them. Your diver has 3 approaches: forceful, patient, and quick. Assign a +2 to one, another with a +1, and the third defaults to a 0. Well, Newson is definitely patient, so that has to be the +2. The other 2 could go either way, but I think that Newson is probably more forceful and strong than quick, so I'm going to put the +1 on forceful and the 0 on quick. So the quest is to find the relics, which are represented by the jokers in the deck. In this case, they're going to represent a giant crab. Hopefully it'll be Midas. There are 6 different actions you can take in this game. You can ask a question, confront risk, evade danger, fight a Leviathan, generate energy, or scan the seas. And the way that you do any of these actions is you draw 2 cards from the story deck and then roll your 2 dice, add them up and add any modifiers to the roll. If your total roll is higher than both the cards you've revealed, then the outcome is light. If your total score is higher than one of the cards but not the other, then there's shade, and otherwise there's darkness. So, let's begin. After a long, dark, cold time, a small light comes on inside Newson. They open their eyes and look around. There's not much to see because it's very dark down here. Newson climbs to their feet and tries to get their systems working. So I'm going to do the first action, which is generate energy. When you turn the crankshaft on your diving suit, or in this case, Newson is using their internal systems to try to generate power, you make an action and use your approach. So in this case, Newson is going to try to be forceful to generate energy. So that gives a +1. So I'm going to roll my dice. That's only a 3. So +1 is 4. So I'm going to draw 2 cards. That's the 7 of clubs and the Queen of spades. So both of those are higher than my total, which means that there's darkness. So this unfortunately means I have to get a Leviathan from my story deck and add it to my current location. So I'm just going to look through. A Leviathan is any of the face cards. There I've got the Jack of Spades, so I'm going to put that on the Ace of Spades. As well as bringing the Leviathan out, I have to mark 1 fatigue. If I get to 5 fatigue, I need to rest. I'm currently on 1. So, as Newson tries to get his internal power circuits working again, getting some light to see with, he struggles. He's been non-functional for too long, and he can't access his normal energy. He stumbles forward across the sloping surface of the collapsed and fallen habitat. As he does so, he sees a huge dark serpent rising from the muck at the bottom of the sea. So now I have to confront the Leviathan. I have to take this action and add my approach and repeat it until I've stacked enough cards with sum of numbers equal to or greater than the value of the Leviathan. Leviathan in this case is a jack, which means it has a value of 11. So, on seeing the Leviathan, Newson freezes in place. They're very good at staying still and have incredible patience. So Newson is going to try to use their patience to avoid detection by the Leviathan. So that's +2. So I'm going to roll my dice. I've rolled a 6, +2 is 8. So now I have to reveal the 2 cards. I've got a 3 of clubs and a Jack of diamonds. So one of those is lower than my roll. The other isn't. That means there is shade. And upon shade, I can stack either one of those cards onto the Leviathan. Unfortunately, one of them is a jack. So I can stack that on the Leviathan, which means that I have successfully confronted it. So in this case, the Leviathan swishes around in the water, stirring up more of the muck. It moves its serpentine head with long, eel-like jaws from side to side, but it doesn't see anything other than the wreckage, bits of metal. It doesn't realize that it was Newson who disturbed the creature. It swims off into the dark. Newson waits for another long period just to be sure the creature is not coming back, and then patiently decides to restart their internal circuits and generate some energy to see where they are. So this time, rather than trying to be forceful, Newson's going to try to be patient in order to generate the energy. So I'm going to roll the dice again, adding +2 for patient. This time I've rolled a 7, +2 is 9. The two cards I've drawn are the King of Clubs and the Queen of Diamonds. So neither of these is lower than my roll, which means that unfortunately I've got darkness again, and I must once again reveal a Leviathan from the story deck and add it to where I am currently. This time the Leviathan is the King of Diamonds. Shuffle the deck and mark another fatigue, so I'm now on 2 fatigue. Newson's trying to generate the energy. This involves whirling their arms around and stamping up and down to try to stir their internal systems into life. But all this motion has attracted another Leviathan bigger than the last. This time it's a red-coloured serpent with spikes along its back. One moment it's not there, and then suddenly it's looming over Newson. This time Newson dives down into the muck at the bottom of the sea and tries to hide down there, hoping this Leviathan will be the same as the last and will not notice their silent, motionless form. So I'm going to roll for confronting the Leviathan. I rolled 4, +2 for patience, and I draw 2 cards. One is the Joker, which is 0 value, and one is the 8 of Hearts. So I've got 4 + 2 for patience is 6, and that means one of those is lower, the Joker, which means there is shade. So again, I can stack either of those cards on the Leviathan. So I'll stack the 8. The King has a value of 13, so I need 5 more. The red spiky Leviathan swims around, stirring up the muck with its tail. It's convinced there's something here. Newson is determined to wait it out. So I've rolled a 9, +2 for patience, and I'll draw 2 cards. 7 of Hearts and the 6 of Spades. Both of those are lower than my roll total, so I can stack them both on top of the Leviathan. This time that's enough to succeed in the confrontation. So having stirred up the muck from the seabed, the Leviathan decides there's nothing worth chomping its jaws down on here and swims away. Newson lies on the floor with muck on top of them. They're starting to feel like they're never going to get out of here. But they think of their friend Muse, who doesn't know what's happened to them, has left them behind. Newson really wants to return to see Muse again and show them that they haven't become permanently non-functional. They were just getting to know each other and forming a stronger bond. Newson doesn't want to let that go. So, determined, they shake the muck, get to their feet, and try once again to generate enough light to see where they can explore. This time I've rolled a 9, +2 is 11. The 2 cards I've drawn are the Queen of Hearts and the 10 of Hearts. Queen is worth 12, so that means I've got 1 lower, which is shade. So, upon shade, you see a Leviathan far away and mark 1 energy. So I now have 1 energy. Well, that's enough to start So Newton decides to scan the seas and see what's surrounding the wreck of the habitat. So Newton is going to expend their 1 energy and shine a light to see where they are. So I've rolled 8 plus 1 energy is 9. I draw 2 more cards. That's the 4 of hearts and the 6 of clubs. Well, that's good. Both of those are lower than my total. So that means I can add both of those cards to my world map alongside the ace. So the rule for exploring is if the number on the new card is higher than the one in the current location, then I have to place it below. Otherwise, I place it beside. So both of those are higher, so I'm going to place them below. So the 4 and then the 6. And Newton is going to explore into the 4 zone. Now, this is where we use the other part of the game rules, which are the tables. So I roll 2 dice to determine what the region is that I've come into. So that is 6 and 5, which means I've found sand wastes. So Newton shines their light ahead of them and sees a long stretch of barren sand with very few plants or any sign of animal life. There are a few small rocks and protrusions, and the sand in some places is swirled into strange shapes. Let's see what the theme of this location is. 3 and 2 means it's freedom. Despite the barrenness of this place, Newton is feeling a sense of release now that they've escaped from the wreck and are heading out into the sea, hopefully in a direction that will take them back to their friend and be able to rejoin the guild back in Nikimui. Let's see what event Newton encounters in this sandy wastes. 3 and a 4 means retrieve. So, walking through the sandy wastes, trudging along the seabed, Newton sees ahead a small rock sticking up from the sand. They walk towards it, and clinging to the top of the rock is a small, brightly coloured sea slug. Now, Newton encountered a sea slug like this when they were exploring the ocean floor with their friend Muse. It reminds Newton of that and the goal of their current expedition, to get free from this undersea world and return to their friend. And so the sea slug seems like an encouraging symbol. Newton bends down, picks the slug up and puts it on their shoulder, and then heads on. This seems like a good place to try to generate some more energy and rest a while. So that is a double 6, a 12. Plus 2 is 14. So I've drawn a 5 and a king. 5 of diamonds and king of spades. Both of those are lower than 14, which means, of course, that we have light. And in generating energy, light means that I can get 2 energy. So this is obviously a good place to generate energy. Maybe the sand is producing some friction that helps with the energy generation. So now Newton has a bright light shining from their blue disc on their chest, and you can see quite far. So let's explore, scan the seas. So I'm going to use both of those energy to try to scan the seas. Well, it's good. I only rolled a 6, but adding +2 to that makes 8. So let's see what cards I draw now. 9 of spades and the 9 of hearts. So unfortunately, despite expending 2 energy, I have got darkness. Darkness means that I have to add another Leviathan and also mark fatigue. So I have got 3 fatigue now, and I've drawn the Jack of Hearts as the next Leviathan. Shuffle the deck and put it back. And this is a different type of Leviathan, scrabbling up out of the sand. It is a centipede-like creature, again much larger still than Newson, but it's obviously been disturbed by Newson's activity and is looking for what can have brought it out of its rest under the sand. This time there's no place to hide in the sandy wastes, and Newson is getting a bit irritated with all these huge sea creatures that keep popping up and frustrating their progress. So Newson's just going to try to run away across the sands and escape this centipede Leviathan. So that's going to be quick, which is +0. Newson's just trusting to luck. Well, that is a very good roll of 10. So without any modifiers, let's see what cards we get. It's an 8 of diamonds and a 9 of diamonds. So that means we've got light, because the roll is higher than both of those, which means we can stack both of them on top of the Leviathan, and 8 and 9 together is 17, which is more than the Jack's 11, so that's enough to get rid of it. So Newson sprints as much as is possible under the deep sea water. As they go, they zigzag from side to side, kicking up the sand behind them. And this seems to be enough to confuse and distract the centipede Leviathan. So in a short while, Newson has left the creature behind and is striking out into new territory. So again, trusting to luck, Newson is just going to try to scan the seas without any light. They're running from the sand flats just wherever to see wherever it takes them, running blindly. So that's a roll of 7. So the 2 cards are the 5 of clubs and the second joker. So that is very fortuitous. So the 5 is greater than the 4 we're currently on, so I have to put that down below the 6 of clubs. So now we've got 4, then 6, then 5. But the joker is lower in value because it's a 0. So I can place that beside my current location, which means that Newson has run into a zone where the object of their quest might be. But let's see what this region is. I'm going to look at the tables again. And that's 4 and 5. Which means this is the jelly nest. See what the theme of this region is. 1 and 2, which means loyalty. And the event is 2 and 1, which means serve. So, zigzagging across the sand, escaping the centipede, Newson blindly stumbles ahead, not really caring where they're going, just trying to get away from the creature that's pursuing them. As they run, they suddenly find resistance. There's something tangling their legs. they look up and they see all around them a mass of jellyfish. Different colours, different sizes. Some with huge pulsating bodies. Others small, squirting around, zooming from side to side. And they've stumbled into this nest and become entangled slightly, surrounded by this strange collection of jellyfish of different types. But actually, this is quite a wondrous sight. This is exactly the sort of thing that Newson wanted to encounter when they came out to the ocean. And so they stand and stare around them, looking at all the different types of creatures here. They take a few hesitant steps, and the jellyfish part gently before them, not hindering Newson's progress. So Newson carries on taking slow steps forward, watching a light blue jellyfish directly above their head, doing a dance with a smaller crimson jellyfish. They don't look where they're going and stumble off a rocky precipice and find themselves falling through the jellyfish. But again, this is not an unpleasant sensation, because there's so much to see and experience here, and it's not like anything Newson has experienced before. And they're only falling through the water. So they relax and enjoy the experience, the jellyfish slightly slowing their fall, and then with a clank, they hit something hard. It shifts beneath them, and a huge claw reaches up and grabs hold of Newson, lifting them up through the cloud of jellyfish and down to the eyes of Midas. It's their loyal old friend Midas. This is what Newson's been hoping for, to see their crab friend again. So they smile and wave at Midas, and then even though they're underwater, they talk. "I'm not sure if you can understand me, Midas, but I would very much like to get back to land and see my friend Muse again. If you know the way there, I wonder if you could take me." Midas doesn't respond, not by speaking, but puts Newson back onto their shell and starts to move through the jellyfish. Newson is as happy as he has been in a long time, sitting on Midas's back, travelling through a cloud of jellyfish and heading back to Muse. But at the same time, they know that their internal mechanisms haven't quite recovered. They weren't able to generate the energy to make light. And they feel that, having been underwater for so long in a non-functional state, they may need some kind of repair. But they don't know who can repair them. They don't know who made them. Maybe Muse can help with this, or their other friends at the Fire-Breathing Kittens Guild. So, that's the end of our little adventure in Inksea the Abyss. That game is available from the bardicinquiry.com and was created by N. Rabinia. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you again on another episode of the Fire-Breathing Kittens podcast. Goodbye.
Hello, and welcome to a very strange episode of the Fire-Breathing Kittens podcast. I'm going to be playing a solo game called Exclusion Zone Botanist. This might be the worst podcast episode I've ever created because it is a solo drawing and sketching game, so I don't think it's going to convey over audio at all. But I'm going to try it. It's an experiment. This is intended for the April Fool's 2025 episode, which is a bonus episode. It airs whatever day of the week April Fool's is on, and we do weird, very strange things. The strange thing this time being Exclusion Zone Botany Exploration. Let's read these rules to you. Welcome to the Exclusion Zone. You are a botanist, assigned to explore and document the Exclusion Zone flora. This area has been sealed off. There is only one infill/exfil portal. If at any point something bad happens to you and you're not at the infill/exfil portal, you ain't getting out. There's a hex map. A hex map, it's like hexagons. It has, you can get, this is a free game, so you can get the PDF and look at it yourself. And you can see there's Region 1, Region 2, Region 3, Region 4, Region 5, and Region 6. And they all have about 4 to 5 hexes in each region. Region 1 is nearest to the infill/exfil portal. Regions 4, 5, and 6 are the furthest. Regions 2 and 3 are in the middle. It says you're going to be dropped at the easy infill/exfil portal. It's the only way in and out. The longer you stay, the higher the risk. The forest corrupts those who enter and stay too long. Start your incursion and attempt to find and sketch as many new plants as you can. Describe them in detail. Give them a name. Your sketchbook is the only recording device you have. No electronics work in the exclusion zone. Cameras and recording equipment will fail. No phones, no emergency beacons. Your main tool is your sketchbook. In an ironic twist, this bundle of paper and ink is the only technology that will work in the exclusion zone. How to play. There's a table, it's got times, and it's got difficulties. I'm going to convert the time, so technically this game is supposed to start at 5 a.m., I'm going to start it at 7 p.m. for reasons that I will explain later, but it's the same thing. I just shifted the times a little bit. How to play is step 1, look for new plants. Roll a d6. If you roll less than or equal to your map area number, you have discovered a new plant. Otherwise, skip to check for corruption. If you do discover a new plant, roll to identify the new plant using the Plant Discovery Guide. Sketch it in your notebook with a short description. Give it a unique name. 2. Check for corruption. Next, determine if you are corrupted by the exclusion zone. 1. Determine the risk value based on the hour above, so I've written out this table before the game started. It's got the time of day, the zone, path I plan to take. I may not be able to show you guys a map visually, but I can name the area of the exclusion zone that I am in. They have numbers on the map. That comes with the free PDF for Exclusion Zone Botanist. You should get this game yourself and check out this map. Risk value, RV, starts at 1 and increases to 6. Step 2 in checking for corruption is to roll 2d6, don't add them together. If the individual values of both dice are less than the risk value, you have been corrupted. Apply the next effect from the corruption progression list. If either of the 2 dice are equal to or greater than the risk value, you are safe. Keep moving. So here's an example of that. If the risk value is 3 and the individual values of your 2d6 dice are both less than 3, so if they're like a 2 and a 1, you have been corrupted and you'll progress along the corruption pathway, which I kind of interpret as being like 6 hit points. If you get corrupted 6 times, you are, well, we'll see. I'm not going to, no spoilers. Okay, step 1 was look for plants. Step 2 was check for corruption. Step 3 is keep moving. You may move 1 hex through the forest in any direction. The only way in and out of the exclusion zone is via the infill/exfil portal. So that's it. That's the game. Let's see if we make it out of here alive. I am, just for official, where I am when I'm recording this, I haven't yet played a game in season 2025, and I have a character that I would like to play. And if that character survives this episode, then that would be great, because I want to play them this season. We'll find out. Let's find out what's happened. So, let's start. I begin my journey. You hear the lid slam, and a metal echo all around as I open my eyes and I am in a forest. It is well lit for a forest with light filtering omnidirectionally, no sun in the sky. Like a pocket dimension, this is independent from Earth's sun, or whatever the planet is, sun. Strange bird calls echo through the trees. The smell of unusual pollens drifts on the breeze. And indeed, the trees themselves look strange. I look for new plants. I look around me. It is 7 p.m. I can see perfectly well, but it does appear probably dark for other people. I am in Zone 1. It is Hour 1. I'm going to check for plants. Look for new plants. Roll a d6. I rolled a 3. If you roll less than or equal to your map area number on the right, you've discovered a new plant. Nope. I'm in Zone 1. I rolled a 3. I didn't discover anything. Okay, it looks like normal trees. I'm going to say it looks like an oak tree. And I'm like, oh, I've seen that before. I sniff it. I put my little black paws on it. And I'm like, yes, it looks totally normal. And I walk past it. Next, I'm going to check for corruption. I'm going to roll 2d6. Do not add them. A 4 and a 1. Okay, so the individual values of both dice are not less than the RV. The RV is 1 right now. I have not been corrupted. I can't tell anything's wrong. I'm just like, this place smells interesting. I kind of want to eat some of the stuff in here. Oh, an oak tree. I touch it. I would touch it with my black paw. I move on, and I'm like, oh, yeah, that seems fine. And little do I know that where my paw touched the bark, as I keep walking, like, vines erupt from that spot. And then, like, there's a really old movie called Jumanji where the plant, like, gets very long vines out from an epicenter and, like, grabs people and drags them in. That happens to where I was, but I don't notice. I've already moved on. And then step 3 is keep moving. I'm now in Hour 2. It's 8 p.m. It is probably very dark to human eyes. I can see great. I am still inside this area. Zone 1. I'm going to check for plants. Roll 1d6. That's a 2. If I roll less than or equal to my map area number, I'm in map area 1. Nope. Still no plants. All right, well, I'm going to check for corruption. I'm going to roll 2d6 and say what I've stumbled upon this time appears to be a dandelion. I bend my little nose, my little black nose, and I sniff the dandelion. And I rolled a 1 and a 2. If the individual values of both dice are less than their risk value, nope, they're not. My risk value is still 1. I'm still not corrupted. Nothing's wrong. The second hour passes fine. I'm going to put a little check mark next to each of these so I don't lose track of how many hours I've been in here. Okay. Hour 3 is the first time I move out of the entry zone. I am now in Zone 2, if you're following on this hex map that comes with this PDF for Exclusion Zone Botanist. I am going to look for new plants. I'm going to roll a d6. It's a 2. If you roll less than or equal to your map area number, right, you've discovered a new plant. Hey, I have. All right, let's roll for plant. There we go. 10 minutes into the game, we found a new plant. I'm using Plant Discovery Guide Revision 9.1b, TD 2039.2, and how that works is, step 1, assess the plant. Roll a d6 for its size. I rolled a 4. It is a medium-sized plant. What is a medium-sized plant like? It's bigger than a dandelion. Oh, it's like a bush. All right. I'm picturing like a rose bush. Okay. Step 2, determine the leaf shape. Roll 2d6 and add. I rolled a 6 overall. This is the part when it does not really translate to a podcast. I'm going to try to draw an ovate leaf, which is, I would call it like a teardrop leaf. So here's my little sketchbook. I got an ovate leaf. Okay, I drew it. There we go. That's a leaf. This is a great game for like if you're an artist and you like pencils or watercolors or markers, or like you have a favorite. Maybe you got a whole Coptic ink, alcohol ink marker set. You can't see what I'm drawing, so I'm going to say I'm a really good artist. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. It's a leaf. All right. Next, we're going to roll for the leaf arrangement. Roll a d6. It's a 4. That means it's opposite. I'm drawing 2 leaves now. They're oppositely arranged. It's quite the plant here. It's got like teardrop leaves, across from each other on the stem. Well, that's nice. Okay, I drew that. And lastly, we're going to note any unusual features. This is when revision 9.1b comes in for this plant discovery guide. First, I'm going to roll 1d6 to determine like the family group or whatever. It's a 3, plant group B. And then I'm going to roll another dice. It's a 1, plant group B, subtype 1, sticky mucus. Thick mucus coats the branches, the trunk, and all the leaves. Okay, so this is a rose bush, but it's covered in snot. Clear and sickly yellow swirls. When touched, it's almost impossible to clean off. It has, okay, so I'm like reaching out my paws. I'm doing a quick search right now for what my paws look like. My paws are actually like black up until the bases of my fingers, and then they're like pinky colored with long nails. So I'm reaching my fur-covered paw with my cute little fingers to the bush, and I touch it, and there's a mucus on it that I'm able to remove my hand, but my hand is covered in just like basically like Winnie the Pooh cartoon honey. When touched, it's almost impossible to clean off. I raise it up to my nose and I sniff it. Plant group B, subtype 1 says, has a strangely sweet and pleasant odor. I wonder what it tastes like. Oh, I eat it. I mean, I'm like licking it off my fingers. Okay. Unsurprisingly, the next step is check for corruption. Let's see what happened to me because I ate that. It's like a rose bush that makes honey. Oh, yeah. Okay, so I'm eating the bush. I'm going to roll 2d6 now. Do not add them. A 4 and a 3. I am in zone 2. Neither the 4 or the 3 is smaller. Actually, they're both higher. So I'm safe. Okay, I'm totally fine. It's delicious. I've found a honey bush. Now, the honey bush is already a thing for any you botanists out there. It's not as cool as the fantasy version of the honey bush. I've heard, don't trust me, I'm just a podcaster. I've heard that the seeds of the rooibos have a coating on them that normally the seed itself, if you put it in soil, won't grow. So when people like planted it, it did not work. It turns out that in the wild, like a fire happens and the fire takes off some of the coating on the seed, and then the seed is exposed to the soil and water and light properly, and it can grow. So you can like grind the seeds to remove their outer coating and help it grow, or you can like heat them a little bit. It's probably like a wax and it like melts off. I don't know. But yeah, but if you don't do that, the seeds won't grow. And if you do that, the seeds will grow. And so that's an example of a plant that the seeds are designed to survive in a specialized environment and won't grow without that external stimuli. So I'm drawing my bush as I talk about honey bushes. I'm drawing like a honey container, and this is the honey bush. I got opposite teardrop leaves, got dripping honey from it. Oh, that's why they're teardrop leaves. It's like honey drops coming from the honey leaf. I'm definitely bringing this with me and munching it. That's great. Wow, why don't people come to this exclusion zone more? That's awesome. All right, keep moving is the next step. So we're now in zone, did I do this right? 3. Yes, we are in zone 3 in hour 4. I don't realize, my character does not realize that I have crossed into a new zone. I look for new plants. I roll a d6. If I roll less than or equal to my map area number, I discovered a new plant. Nope. I rolled a 4. I'm in zone 3. No plant. Otherwise, skip to check for corruption. I roll 2d6. All right, I rolled 2d6. One of them is below the number and one of them is above, so if either of the two dice are equal to or greater than the risk value is 2 right now, because I've been here, this is my 4th hour here, so I have a 2 and a 5. I'm fine, nothing happens. I just walk through zone 3, eating my honey bush. Yeah, it's good times here in the exclusion zone. I wonder why I don't see other people like me, but I keep going. Hour 5. It is now 11 p.m. I can see great. I can see everything around me. I'm just slowly walking through. I'm going to check for plants. I'm going to roll a d6. That's a 6. If you roll less than or equal to your map area number, you discover a new plant. No. Okay, no new plant. It's hour 5. I'm in zone 3. It's 11 p.m. The risk value is 2. Check for corruption. Roll 2d6. A 2 and a 1. Oh, okay. So the risk value is 2 right now. That 2 saves me from being corrupted. I'm going to give a check mark to this time, and I continue walking along, eating my honey bush, not noticing how close I came to being corrupted just now. This is fine. Everything's fine. I'm still walking. I am now in Zone 4 if you're following along on the hex map at home, and it is midnight here. It is very dark for anyone who's a human. I'm not. I can see perfectly, and I roll my dice to look for plants. I rolled a 1. Finally, I found a new plant because that is less than the zone number. So a 1 is less than 4. At midnight, I discover a plant. Let's go to the plant discovery page. Step 1, assess the overall plant size. Roll 1d6. I rolled a 2. It is a tiny plant. It is so small. I've got my sketchbook here, and I'm drawing a really tiny little plant. I'm picturing like moss. So cute and small, or like a succulent plant, you know, like little tiny ones in pots. Step 2 is determine leaf shape. Roll 2d6 and add. That's a 4. Whoa, those some weird looking leaves. This is an oblong leaf. It looks kind of like a rupee if you ever played Zelda. Like it's got a pointy top, straight long sides, and then like a pointy bottom. Yeah, it's a rupee from Zelda officially. Okay. Now step 3, determine leaf arrangement. Roll 1d6. It's a 2. They're alternate. They're alternate rupee leaves. Oh, this is a holly plant. Oh my gosh. Are holly plants alternate? I don't know. You are having to put up with my musings, podcast listeners, as I sketch. Sketch. Okay, so I looked up a holly plant, and dude, the leaves are totally alternate. They're alternate. They are rupee shaped. I'm thinking I found my plant. This is what I'm thinking about, yeah. Step 4, note any unusual features. Roll 2d6. And unlike the base game, revision 8.1, I'm not going to add them together. I'm going to scroll. The first one is going to be the group, plant group. It's a 1, so that's plant group A. And the second one is the number in there, 5. Exposed roots. Enormous root structures. Wait, but this is a tiny plant. It's a little baby tiny holly plant with giant exposed roots. Enormous root structures stick out of the ground, looking like tree trunks themselves. Perhaps tubers that store water and nutrients for the plant. They are twice the size of the above-ground structure of the plant. Oh, okay. I'm drawing tubers that are, twice the size. Twice this. Oh gosh, this looks bad. Don't exist in real life, plant. This is not pretty. And they're above the ground twice as much as the plant. Wow. Okay. I'm looking at it. It reminds me of the people who grow sort of like bonsai style. They train the tree to grow a trunk that is useful, but it's a lot of like exposed bark. And they can train the tree to look like a chair. So what I'm thinking is this is a tiny little holly with like a bonsai trained chair growing around it. I have made this look somehow obscene with the giant roots, but no, that's a chair. It's a chair. And I take a rest because I have been here for a long time. This is my 6th hour here. So here I am in Zone 4, sitting on this little chair, looking at this tiny little holly plant with its rupee-shaped leaves. And I sit on the root structure, and I eat my honey bush, and maybe I take a little nap. Oh, that's nice. Okay, hey, I haven't died yet. That's great. I don't want to speak too soon. I have no idea how this is translating to the listeners at home, but I'm having a good time. I'm sketching stuff. I sketched a root chair and a sappy honey bush. Okay, so that was the plant. Did I roll for corruption or not? No, I didn't. I'm going to check for corruption. So I'm sitting on my chair. I'm taking a nap. I'm going to roll 2d6. I got a 6 and a 2, and my zone is 4. If either of the 2 dice are equal to or greater than the risk value... Oh, wait, the zone doesn't matter. It's risk value 2 right now. That matters. Equal to or greater than the risk value. Yeah, the 6 and the 2 are both equal to or greater. I am safe. Keep moving. Keep moving. I am now entering... In hour 7, I am entering Zone 5 on the map. You can follow my progress on your map at home. It is 1 a.m. The risk value has become 3. I don't know that. And I'm going to check for plants. This is my only hour in Zone 5. So maybe I'll find something cool here. I'm going to roll a d6. That's a 2. I rolled less than or equal to the map area number. I have discovered a new plant. That's great. What do I find in zone 5? Let's roll for plant size. It's a 4. It's a medium plant. So we found another bush. Medium plant. We're going to determine leaf shape. Leaf shape is linear, which looks fatter than a pine needle, but not as fat as a rupee. Kind of reminds me of like mangrove. Is that right? Mangroves are kind of... I'm looking it up using like an image search. No, mangroves are fatter. Let me look for a linear leaf plant. Oh, it's like grass. Oh, it's like a juca. Oh, I see. Okay, so if you've ever seen like a snake bush or like a juca or, oh, it's like bamboo. Bamboo is a linear leaf. Wow, so many linear leaf examples. Green onion is a linear leaf. Okay, it's a linear leaf. Okay. Let's see how the leaves are arranged. You know, there's only 3 options in this game. Alternate, opposite, and whirl-lit. But there's no like from the middle of the plant, you know, like the spider grass that I'm looking at. And the juca and stuff like that, these all grow from the center, from like a rosette, I think it's called. Yeah. Like if you see green onion in the wild, you wouldn't call it alternate, opposite, or whirl-lit. You would call it like coming from a central point, you know? Anyway, so I'm going to roll for alternate, opposite, or whirl-lit. It's a whirl-lit, which is when all the leaves come out of one point in the stem all the way around the stem, and then there's like space up and down, and then it has more leaves. What's a good example of that? I'm looking it up now. Whirl-lit, whirled leaf plant example. A Virginia creeper is like that. There's something called a whorled loosestrife that I'm sure that's totally helping you imagine it. It's weird looking. Anyway, I'm going to draw it. Drawing it now. Okay, next up, note any unusual features. I rolled plant group 6. Subtype 6, whispers. Okay. Sharp, angular branches look more like constructed architecture than organic life. Oh my gosh, like the chair plant again. Except this is the green onion. I don't know. Not chair. What else can you make? Like a... Maybe it's a fence? Maybe it's like a constructed fence. Okay. All right. The plant whispers unintelligible words. You keep thinking you can understand a few words. Is that Latin? Whoa, okay, so this is actually really good for my role-playing. I am playing this episode, or this podcast episode, I don't know, this April Fool's Day prank on myself, really. No, I am playing this before I've ever played a character in season 2025, and so this is actually really cool. So it's this plant inside here that makes me understand words. The plant whispers unintelligible words. I'm going to spend an hour next to this plant, and I'm going to learn words. Learn words. Oh, I forgot to name the last plant. The last one was definitely the rupee chair, like from Zelda. This is the plant that taught me language. This one, the plant that taught me how to speak. I am about a foot long, covered in mostly white fur, kind of gray. I have black ears, and I sit down next to this tree. My black beady eyes look up at it, and my white face. My body's gray. I have kind of like a rat tail, and I look up at this plant that is whispering to me, and sort of like the cosmos spin behind my head and in my eyes, and an infinite amount of time passes in just a second, and I learn how to talk. So I'm going to call this plant Babble, because that's a word associated with learning how to talk. Kind of opposite. Babble's like, now you can't all talk the same language. But this one, yeah, this plant is babbling at me, and I think maybe because I'm me, it's having a different effect than it would have on other people. And I sit there with my cute pink nose, and I look up at it, and I listen to it. And I don't think anybody's ever listened to this plant before in the exclusion zone. That's a cute moment. Man, that worked out much better for the role-playing than I would have thought. I did not expect that to happen. I was just going to like hand wave that I learned how to talk from this, but that actually super works. What do I say back to the tree, and what does it tell me? I think it tells me about its life. Yeah. I mean, it's constructed, so it's like a fence. So it tells me about the people who grew it to keep other people out. It tells me their story of their wars with their neighbors and of how the exclusion zone has mutated and changed all of this. Wow, I learned the history of its people. Cool. All right, now it's 2 a.m. and I'm going to wander into Zone 6. Oh, wait, I had to check to see if I'm corrupted. I mean, obviously I'm corrupted from this, but let's roll for it. Roll 2d6. Don't add them. It's a 3 and a 1. I am at risk value 3. If either of the two dice are equal to or greater than the risk value, you are technically safe. Keep moving. So I changed, but not in a bad way. I'm moving. I'm in Zone 6. We are now halfway through this. Wow, it is an hour-long game. It was like, this is an hour-long game. And I was like, okay, it is. We are in Zone 6 now. It is 2 a.m. It is my 8th hour in the exclusion zone. I'm going to roll to look for new plants. I've rolled a 1 if I rolled less than or equal to my map area number, which I did. It's map area 6. I've discovered a new plant. Roll for plant. Okay. I kind of don't want to anymore, but I will because I am halfway done and an end is in sight. Assess overall plant size. It's a 4. That's a medium plant. Okay, let's draw another plant. I think this is basically like a sketchbook exercise, solo RPG. Okay, medium plant. Determine the leaf shape, roll 2d6 and add them. That is an 8. That's a lanceolate leaf shape, which is basically sharp on the end, fat on the bottom. Step 3, determine leaf arrangement. 5. More whorlets. And then last step in plant, determine group. It's group 5, subtype 5. Blue light. Cold blue light emanates from cracks in the bark. Wait, this is a whorlet tree? Okay, I'm drawing this. What is this? This is a whorlet shape tree with lanceolate leaves. Okay, I have drawn it. Cold blue light, so it's like Cherenkov radiation. It's emanating from cracks in the bark. I hear a high-pitched whine similar to voltage switching. I can't quite pinpoint where the sound is coming from, but the light dims as I approach. Oh, I have scared it. Okay, well, I'm going to call this tree timid eucalyptus. Because eucalyptus, is it lanceolate? Am I imagining that? What is the type of leaf? It is, I don't know, it's kind of lanceolate. This is a eucalyptus tree. Oh. Let's talk about eucalyptus a little bit. Well, they're not really like whorlets. They're alternating. Close enough. And they're kind of fat instead of lanceolate. Whatever, we're going to talk about eucalyptus trees now. Did you know that eucalyptus trees encourage fires? They survive fires, and their bark's very flammable, so wherever there's eucalyptus trees planted, there's more fires because they benefit from it, burning their neighbors down. So there was I don't know if this is true or not, this is like gossip hour with me, but there was this town or area or I don't know, whatever, in California, and they were like, we're going to plant a bunch of eucalyptus trees, they smell so good. And then they noticed that there were a lot of fires because the eucalyptus trees, they leave behind really flammable bark and trash, and they start fires. So now they're banned. You can't plant them there. Yeah. Eucalyptus trees are a fire hazard. They constantly shed their bark. The bark catches fire rapidly. The loose strips of bark carry the fire up into the canopy, casting the embers outward. They're they're like little pyromaniac trees. Okay, so this is a timid eucalyptus, and I walk up to it, and the light goes out. Well, that's good, because it would win in a fight versus me, so I'm glad it got scared. Next, roll for corruption. Rolling 2d6. It's a 5 and a 6. If either of them are equal to or greater than the risk value, which is currently 3, we're good. Okay, check. Still haven't been corrupted at all. Let's start hour 9. Okay, so from zone 6, now we're on our loop back. We go back to zone 3. Okay, we're back in zone 3. It's hour 9. It's 3 a.m. I can see everything clearly. Roll to check for plants. Roll a d6. That's a 5. If I roll less than or equal to my map area number, I've discovered a new plant. Otherwise, skip to check for corruption. No new plants here. I have met 4 friends. The honeybush, the rupee chair, Babel, the plant that taught me how to speak, and the timid eucalyptus. So timid, so shy. It's probably for the best. It would have won in a fight. Rolling for corruption. That's a 2 and a 2. If either of the 2 dice are equal to or greater than the risk value, you are safe. They're not. The risk value is 3, and I rolled a 2 and a 2. Okay. Corruption progression list. Check off in order. Ready? I begin to itch. It seems innocuous enough. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I could totally still die. I am doing the math on how many of these are left. I begin to itch, and I go faster towards my home. The next hour, I'm still in zone 3. It's now 4 a.m. I've been here for 10 hours. I'm going to check for plants. That's a 1. I found a plant that I had never seen before. Great. It's time to sketch another plant. I don't really like sketching. I don't think this is the right solo RPG for me. I'm going to draw another plant. All right, let's roll for size. It's a 2. It's a tiny plant. I am itching as I look at this tiny plant. I am going to roll for leaf shape. That's an oblanceolate leaf, which is a crazy word. I'm going to be so good at Scrabble because of this game. Oblanceolate. I don't even know. It looks like a paddle or something. I don't know. It's fatter at the end. It's thinner at the base. It's kind of like a feather. No. Is that a feather? I don't know. It's weird. It's not as bad as like spatulate, but it's a weird looking little leaf. I'm going to look this up. What plants in real life have oblanceolate leaves? I have found a leaf that looks kind of like oblanceolate. You know what it reminds me of is spinach. I'll look up a spinach leaf. It's not the best match, but that's the closest plant I got for you, listeners. It looks kind of like a spinach leaf, a little bit sort of. Next, we're going to determine arrangement. 1, alternating spinach leaves. Okay, alternating spinach leaves. And now we're going to see how this plant kills me. Note any unusual features. So I got group 1, number 4. Sticky leaves. What? Okay, I did that already. No, this is a different sticky leaves. Okay, sticky leaves. Only 2 massive leaves, thick and leathery. So this is spinach king or queen. Both are covered in tiny stalks, dripping with sticky sap. Insects are trapped in the glue, struggling to free themselves before being digested. I suddenly feel hungry. I'm going to stand there and extend my little hand with black fur to the base of my fingers, and then I got pink fingers. I'm going to pluck the insects out. I mean, it's been like 10 hours. I am hungry, and I am definitely going to like eat the insects and have a little snack. I'm going to call that a snack trap plant. That's very useful. It's sort of like having an apple tree outside of your house. What if you had a tree that caught insects and you were an insectivore? Maybe I check for seeds. I'm going to check for seeds. Is there a way for me to like collect seeds in this game? No, this is a total plant nerd game with no seed collection mechanism. Well, there's some feedback for the creator. I wanted seeds from this plant, and there was no mechanism for me to get them. All right. Let's check to see if I'm corrupted. I'm already itching. What's the worst that could happen? A 4 and a 1. The risk value was 4, so I'm fine. I'm fine for the moment. I keep moving. It is hour 11. I am still in zone 3. It is 5 a.m. I check for plants. I rolled a 1. I am in zone 3. That means that I found a plant. All right, let's knock these out fast. It is a small plant with spatulate leaves. They look like spoons. It has spoon leaves. The tiny spoon. Oh my gosh, it's a succulent. It's a tiny spoon leaf plant. It's a succulent. What is that succulent called? It's like a jade succulent or something? Yeah, it's a jade succulent. Okay, I'm going to determine the leaf arrangement. Leaf arrangement is opposite. I'm drawing opposite spoons. It's just, okay, it's pretty weird. And now I'm going to note any unusual features. Roll 2d6. The first one's a 2, the last one's a 6. Let's scroll down to wherever that takes me to. Plant group B. Responsive leaves. Ooh. The leaves to the spoon plant respond to even the lightest touch or breeze. When disturbed, they quickly wrap around the plant, seemingly to protect itself. After a few minutes of watching, they slowly begin to unfurl. I lose track of time while waiting. Oh yeah, I poke the plant. I'm going to call this one Pokey Spoons. Pokey Spoons, the plant. All right, bam, done. We roll for corruption. I rolled a 3 and a 4. The risk right now is 4. We're fine. It is now the 12th hour that I have been in the corruption zone. It's been a long day for me. I'm sleepy. It's 12 hours in. But I'm back to zone 1, and it is 6 a.m., so the light is starting to get more and more light to grow. I'm going to roll for plants. It's a 6. I'm in zone 1. I find no plants. Excellent. I roll for corruption. I rolled a 4 and a 1. The 4 saves me from corruption. Check mark. I'm going home, people. I got 2 more hours here. Let's do this. It is now my 13th hour in the exclusion zone. I have a risk value of 5 that I have to beat, and I'm in zone 1, so the odds of me finding a plant are low. Let's roll for it. A 4. Nope, I don't find a plant. Do I escape without corruption? Let's roll for it. That's a 3 and a 1. No, I do not. I get corrupted. Oh, I'm so close to being home, though. So close to home. Small lumps begin to form on my skin. Okay, I'm itchy, and I have lumps on my skin. That's not great. I mean, I feel like I'm having an allergic reaction probably to the honey bush that I ate earlier. So I'm going to leave the honey bush here. I'm going to be like, honey bush, you are giving me hives. Very delicious, 10 out of 10, but I personally am allergic. Okay, I have 1 more hour. I can see the infill exfil portal. It's a risk value of 5. I roll for plants. I'm in zone 1. I rolled a 1. Oh, I got a 1, you guys. I have to find another plant. All right, let's do this. Let's find one last plant. I'm almost out. And I notice a small, oblanceolate, alternate leaf plant that has, let's see, scroll down, black holes. What? I rolled a 4 and a 1. Yeah, I read that right. Black holes. Plant group C, number 1. Yeah, that's black holes. Okay, large black openings on the trunk and branches, each one a perfect circle with fluted opening. I hear a deafening boom. My ears ring as I stumble back disoriented. Then absolute silence. No bird or animal sounds. Okay, so this is the reason why I leave. I'm just like, I'm out. I don't like the black hole plant. And I rolled 1 last time for corruption. I'm going to call this one the Jabuticaba, but unfriendly. I'm going to call this the loud Jabuticaba. The loud Jabuticaba. I rolled 1 last time for corruption. A 2 and a 1. I am horribly corrupted by this. Tiny sprouts erupt from the lumps. Oh no. And I'm like, I'm out of here. I turn my white head on my gray body with my little black furred hands, my little pink toes, and I find the hole in the dumpster lid that I came here through. I scramble up out of it, and thankfully, when I emerge from the dumpster outside of the fire-breathing kitten's hall, the lumps on my skin and the sprouts that are erupting from lumps wither, and without the magic of the exclusion zone, they fall off, and my itching stops. The whispers in my mind continue, though. I can understand the human language as a bartender named Inksea comes out of the bar and has a bag full of trash, full of magical potions, and she lifts the dumpster lid from where I just came. I'm hiding behind the trash bin across the alley, and she throws a bag full of magical debris and glass potion bottles. She throws it into the dumpster, and the bag makes a clinking and crashing sound on the inside, like the bottles break when they land. The magic potions spill out, and that's why the dumpster is bigger on the inside than it is on the outside. And there's strange plants growing in there in the exclusion zone of the dumpster outside the fire-breathing kitten's hall. And that's why I can speak and read, and I read on the bag. The bag says hefty, and I'm like, hefty. And the bartender looks at me, and she's like, oh, it's just a possum. And I say, hefty. And she's like, what? That possum just talked. And I say, oh, I did. And she says, that is a talking possum. Are you hefty? I guess I am. Hi, I'm Hefty. She wipes her hand off, having just thrown a bag of trash in the dumpster, and comes over to me. I'm only a foot big, and I freeze, because she's, 5 feet tall. And I'm like, ah. And she says, "Oh, don't be scared. I've never seen a talking possum before. Are you a magical creature?" And I say, "I don't think I am. I don't think I'm a magic creature. But why? Do magic creatures get food?" And she chuckles. And she's like, "The food is inside the guild hall. You can eat it if you're a member. Do you want to be a member and go on adventures?" I think about the dumpster dive that I just did, the magical exclusion zone flora that I have explored and documented, the honeybush, the rupee chair, Babel, the plant that taught me how to speak, the timid eucalyptus, the snack trap plant, pokey spoons, and the loud jabuticaba. And I say, "Oh, I've been on adventures before. Yeah, I could totally be an adventurer. Yeah, let's go inside and eat." And she says, "Welcome to the guild, Hefty. Let's get you your tattoo." The end. Yay. That's my playthrough of Exclusion Zone Botanist, a solo drawing and sketching game. I would share my sketches with you guys, but you're probably happier that I don't. They're not good sketches. But yeah, that explains how Hefty learned how to talk and why. It's because of the way that the fire-breathing kittens throws out their magical trash, all in a dumpster, with the potion bottles spilling out everywhere. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed Exclusion Zone Botanist. If you are a person who likes to draw plants or talk plant gossip with people, all the hot plant goss, then it might be a good game for you. Give it a try. It's free. It is by Exuent Press, EXUENT Press. It's available at exuentpress.itch.io. Once again, that was Exclusion Zone Botanist.